Rectified villain. Here we go.
Of the evening, folks. Thank you for joining me. We are here. It is another Wednesday night, 8:30. Well, a little bit after 8:30, a little late today, but wearing the H-Town blue unis. I got my man Derek Stingley, number 24, my favorite number, the one I wore back in the day. But of course, I got the collection of all the guys back there, Stroud, Dell, Collins, everybody, as you can see. But we are here. We're doing it live right now on a Wednesday. It is the H-Town Huddle. Appreciate everybody for joining me tonight. We are here to talk about the 3-1 Houston Texans. We're going to talk a little bit about the Jacksonville Jaguar game last week, just what that kind of means for the guys within the division, the jockeying of positions between the entire AFC conference, this huge game leading up into the Bills at home. And then, of course, breaking out these new uniforms. We'll talk about injuries, fantasy implications. We'll talk a hell of a lot about Nico Collins to start off the show. And then, of course, we'll answer any fantasy football related questions or team questions in the chat. Speaking of the chat, let's give a shout out to everybody up in the chat. Should pick that up a little bit. It's a little loud. There you go. There you go. There you go. Who's out here? Appreciate you, Lee. As always, our ear to the streets, Mr. Lee, bringing us the news. Derek, always showing up and showing out. Appreciate you, my boy. Who else we got out here? What's good? Tino in the house. Appreciate everybody. And of course, Bogart Scott Free. I love you, Nico Collins. Thank you, Nico Collins. Thank you, Nico Collins. Definitely been a fantasy savior, a fantasy football godsend for us. So hopefully that just continues. He's on a ridiculous pace right now. I think I have some Nico Collins stuff to put up here for you guys. Let's see if I can find my way into let's just talk about the schedule. Let's go down the list here. So obviously we're moving on from week 4 into week 5, a win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Boom. One home game. We're in breaking out the Navy unis for the first time, and then following it up with another Navy uniform alternate with the cool H-Town blue highlights. You'll see those on the gloves and on the cleats of some of the players, and I'm sure they'll throw in some of the red too. So thank you guys for joining me with H-Town Huddle once again. We are doing this every Wednesday, breaking down past week's game and then highlighting the following week, just kind of giving you guys a little bit of everything, a quick rundown and overview of it all. But like I said, Jacksonville on to Buffalo. It's a huge game. Like I said, big implications, but they're the new uniforms. They threw Stefon Diggs on this graphic. Shout out to the graphics team. You guys know that I love graphics. You can see I did the motion graphics for the background there with the smoke and the H-Town H's. And you can look real close. You can see Toro kind of riding on his pony under the red H there as well, but got some motion graphics going on there with the guys wearing the alternate Navy and the home Navy jerseys. They're deep blue steel, or it's actually called pitch blue now. It's just the darkest shade of blue that's closest to black that there is. So I love that pitch blue now that they've gone with the new revamping and everything. So these things are going to be sweet. It's going to be the first time wearing these bad boys out on the field and representing. So really cool stuff. Good. My sweet jerseys. I love these things. Good stuff. So this is my favorite one. It's the Stingley one, but I'm probably going to get, multiple more players. I still need Mixon, and I still need a Diggs one for sure in my collection. Just don't know what route I'm going or where I'm going with those. But yeah, new uniforms. So hyped about that, of course. Yeah. Hey, Song in the house. Of course. Yeah. Nico's a great guy. Well-deserving player, man. First couple of years, if you guys followed some of the streams that I did in previous channels and stuff like that, or if you guys have been hanging around, that I always thought Nico was a baller and he just needed a better quarterback play. And so, obviously with CJ Stroud, he's gotten it now. And so we're getting the chance to see Nico flourish. And, last year we got to see some glimpses of it and people were like, oh, is he maybe a top 12, top 10 wide receiver? And, us faithful fan base were like, he's a top 5 guy for sure. And now I think he's proving that he's top 2, and I don't think he's number 2. He's definitely up there in the conversation, though, as far as stuff like that goes. But we'll get to him right after. Let's just touch up again on Mr. CJ Stroud, the leader of this fine football team that I'm proud to call my favorite football team, the Houston Texans. But he is he was named one of the 100 most influential people in 2024 on Time 100 Next list. So be on the lookout for him. He's just he speaks volumes. He's very mature for a 22-year-old guy. Has a good head on his shoulders, a great leader. So you can tell that people really like to rally around him. A good work ethic, and obviously a great football player. We've seen him be able to do some great things with poor offensive line play. And I'm not going to shit on our offensive line a whole lot today, but I'm going to try not to. But it's going to happen. So be prepared for that. But yeah, I mean, CJ Stroud right here, top 5 in passing yards, right behind Geno Smith, who had to air it up with Jared Goff in that amazing game that we saw just recently. So it was the Seahawks and Lions game where these guys were just airing it out versus each other. But then you have, of course, you got Brock Purdy, who doesn't get enough credit. Whack Prescott as well, I think, who's also underappreciated. And then, of course, CJ Stroud. So this is the top 5 passing yard leaders in the NFL, presented by FedEx Air and Ground. Shout out to them, I guess. But there you have it, number 4, CJ Stroud. So he is who we thought he was, right? But let's take a look at some of his numbers from this past weekend. Actually, not through the weekend, but overall. Excuse me. But yeah, 345 and 2 was this last week. And you look at some of these numbers as a 27 of 40, right? So he had to throw it out quite a bit. He had that late game winning drive, obviously, to put them in front, 24-20, but decent numbers, 110.9 rating, no interceptions again, really good, 345 yards. He did take 2 sacks, like I said, but he was able to escape a lot of pressure as well. And he's just the dude. He's the guy. So, but moving on to Nico Collins, and then we'll come back and tie it back in with our man CJ here in a second. But spoiler alert, FedEx brand new sponsor. Yeah, thanks to FedEx for sponsoring the H-Town Huddle tonight. But there you have it, folks. The Neon Peacock, sponsored by FedEx. So top 5 receiving yards, top 5 receivers in receiving yards through 4 weeks. We have Nico Collins leading the way with 489. And then there's nobody even within 100 freaking yards who's even closer to him. 386 for Malik Neighbors, who's hyper targeted. He's probably the most targeted guy in the NFL, at this moment. But if you even look at that, Malik Neighbors got 15 targets last week. Guess how many targets Nico Collins got last week? So this guy is a stud. He is the absolute alpha wide receiver 1, especially when you have a Tank Dell, who's the ancillary piece, not there to kind of take away the few 6 to 7 targets that may have been siphoned from Nico in this matchup. But he's always open, and he's well deserving of those targets. They paid him. The Texans got well in front of that window, decided to extend him early, and they knew what they had in house, and they betted on him, and it is returning great value right now. So then you have, of course, DK Metcalf, and then surprisingly, Jawan Jennings ahead of Justin Jefferson. So I should probably try to trade Jawan Jennings away this week in some leagues, in some redraft leagues. So yes, sir. Antino says, Air 300, LOL, fire. Why didn't I think of that first? Yeah, exactly. So good stuff. Yeah, let's see what its songs say. Nico, my top 6 wide receiver in ranks, maybe top 3 by the end of the season. I believe he's like a 1, 2, 3 type of guy. It just depends on if he can continue to put these kind of numbers up. His touchdowns are down compared to some of these other guys, but other than that, I mean, he's really showing up and showing out, like I like to say. And there are his numbers from this last week in the Texans' 24-20 victory over the division rival Jacksonville Jaguars, have now fallen to 0-4. I do I do know that it was kind of a difficult, dirty game again. The offensive line not necessarily helping us out much, but if you look at it there, 12 receptions for him on 15 targets, which is really just great connection. Him and CJ on the scramble drill is ridiculous. You ever see a broken play? Nico just knows where to find the open space, either zone. He'll beat man. He's too good. He's too fast. He's too strong, and he has great hands. So he was dealing with a hamstring injury. Remember, he popped up on the injury report a lot last week. We mentioned just to monitor that, but he was good to go. And he even was overthrown on a touchdown in the back of the end zone by CJ, which he would even had a bigger day for fantasy with 2 touchdowns, right? 13 receptions on those 15 targets. So that was a chance for them to put that away in that drive, but I think it ended up, I think they ended up kicking a field goal, if I'm not mistaken, but I think it was that portion of the game. Here are some Nico Collins stats continued, just so you guys have a nice look at what this is, I guess, as far as the season. The 489 yards ranks him first. You want to go all the way down to targets per game at 10.8. That is third in the NFL. And then he also ranks fourth in the receptions, right? So the targets and receptions, third and fourth, and then fifth in the 122.3, which is just wild that he's even fifth. But you know that he's a true alpha here going into this 24-25 season. So just wanted to give this man his flowers, and he's gotten several game balls and whatnot. But congratulations to him. He did get the game ball after this game for leading the league in receiving yards. D'Amico was well aware of it right after the game in the post-game locker room speech, right? And not a great game, kind of an ugly game, right? But Nico's the guy, and he's the main reason why the Texans are 3-1, right? They're able to mount a drive in desperate times and when they're most needed, and Nico Collins has been available and answering the call. So there you have it. Highest rated wide receivers this season: Nico Collins, Chris Olave, and Chris Godwin. So you have a correlation there with you have God and Win. You have two Chris's, and Nico's just the freako there in this situation. But he is Nico Ballin. This is a tweet, or I don't even know what you call him anymore, because anyways. But this is from Kurt, Ben Kurt. Just watch Nico Collins all 22. He's always open. He understands route distribution and timing versus zone. He can beat anyone playing man, and his catch radius is insane. He went for 150 last week with CJ, and CJ missed 2 throws that would have put him in over 200 yards with another touchdown, like I mentioned. So, a lot of meat left on the bone of this Texans offense. Like I mentioned before, last week, obviously Tank Dell was not there, but in the weeks that he has played, CJ has not connected with him on deep plays that I think could extend drives. When he has connected, they've been like out of bounds, or there's been a penalty that calls the play back, negates 15, 25 yards or whatever it is. So the Texans continuously shooting themselves in the foot, playing down to their opponents a lot of the weeks. So if they can just fix these small issues, clean it up, they're 3-1 and they're playing horrible football. So I think that, and they had the 4th toughest schedule to start the season and things like that. So I think if they clean it up, they can really get the ball rolling, start clicking. We have yet to see the tip of the iceberg with the Texans. I like to be a lot more optimistic than these other Houston Texans channels that you may see out there that are constantly, getting on the coaching staff or getting on these players and this and that. And I was like, hey man, this is barely the second year that the Texans are good. And this is really like the first year where the expectations are set there, and the fan base is already, pouting and having a hissy fit, and they're 3-1, and I get, I get it. Some of the guys that have been in the system for a long time and do the beat reporting or the digital reporting or whatever that have these podcasts that I tap into, to just listen to their opinions. They might be upset, but I mean, when it's 3-1, you got to be happy. You got to enjoy football. And I think that when you have CJ Stroud back there at number 7, anytime he has the ball in his hands, I think that they can score on any play, right? I just got to give him time. So I think that those other elements need to come together, and a lot of that falls on the coaching. I think the offensive coordinator a little bit there, but we'll get into that in a second. Let's just continue. There's a nice graphic there of Collins, 489 yards by himself, and there's all of the wide receivers for the Chargers with 405 yards combined. So, and there's some sleeper love here. There's some comparisons from 2021 till now. It's aging like fine wine. Is Mr. Nico Collins here at 25 years old? If you just look at, Davis Mills, what Davis Mills did to him was unfair and pretty sad. But Nico didn't get to play at that shortened COVID season as well in college and stuff like that. So, anyways, it's just look at 2024. Just look at that, like 14, 23. 10, 27. Fantasy points are ridiculous. Even in the game when they got completely shut out, he gives you, 10 fantasy points. So Nico's a stud, wide receiver 1 in yards right now. And him and CJ are one of the best duos in the league. And there you are, the best QB wide receiver duos from Target EPA in 2024, the very top of the list in total EPA. And there's their count and the success rate for you, Nico and Stroud right there. And then followed by Josh Allen and Khalil Shakir, ironically. So we'll get to see, hopefully, a really good matchup this weekend. I'll go over the injury reports when we get there, but let's close up on some of the other stuff here with Nico. I just wanted to say a few more things, though, but here's one. Here's his insane pace on his historic season so far. He is on pace for 2,078 receiving yards, only 9 touchdowns, and 128 receptions. But look at those receiving yards. If you can move the football through the air like that, then it doesn't really matter if you're not having that much success on the ground. It'll be a luxury to have the run game pick it up, here towards the later on in the season, or the good middle portion of the season, if they can get that, turn that into a reality, if they can get that going. Let's check in here. I'm guilty of not believing in Nico Collins being a legit DeAndre Hopkins replacement, but man, y'all nailed that. Yeah, his style's a little bit different, the way that the play is, right? But he gets the job done the same. The production or the end result is the same, right? So, and if I remember correctly, that was the Bob Rahim. I don't remember what you're talking about. Bob Rahim. Talking about the old general manager is now I'm forgetting his name. Something with an R. Talking about Bob McNair? Who are you talking about? Put it in the chat, Bogart. Anyway, where was I? Yes. So the best duo in the game. We just talked about that. Nico Collins, historic pace, breaking on a 2,000-yard pace at this point. But here's something that's been irking me. It's the play calling a little bit to get these guys going. It's running often on first and second down, sticking to it, being committed. I know we haven't had Joe Mixon, right? So that may be a big thing or a big part, dealing with the inefficiency in the run game. The offensive line hasn't been good, but I do want to draw some attention to Bobby Slowick a little bit. This is a ranking here by Patent Analytics, and some other contributors ranking the offensive play callers through 4 weeks, and Bobby Slowick is way down there at the bottom behind Dable, and squeezed in between Steve Canales and then Waldron, Stefanski, and McDaniel, who's been having a lot of trouble with Miami. So, and this is the personnel, market efficiency, and having to deal with the constraints, right? If people are injured and what you're dealing with or whatever. I don't know if this is if this takes into account the offensive line, right? I don't know if maybe that would perhaps push Slowick up if it's not included in this, but it's just an interesting graphic, and here it is put in another way as far as how they've been ranking these through 4 weeks, and where Slowick ranks at this moment. And it's not good, Bob. It's back here towards the end, the bottom half of the league as far as the play calling. So that it's a little stale, a little obvious at times. We know when it's a run or pass situation. There has been some trickeration and some of those things, and they've had some success. I just think that I think that because the run game has been inefficient, he hasn't been able to really get in his bag and flow. Hopefully Joe Mixon comes back and helps, but like I said, these guys have been no help whatsoever, and especially left guard Kenyon Green. I thought he was going to be playing well, or he played well week 1. He had a huge improvement. We thought that he could come in here and be that piece, that missing puzzle piece to kind of help solidify the offensive line. And maybe that's why Laramie Tunsil's been having a little bit of problems, like this guy's communication, Kenyon Green, who's right next to him, along with the communication with the center. He taps the center, right? He's supposed to know the count. Maybe that's screwing with Laramie Tunsil. I don't know the intricacies of what's been happening at practice, right, to allow for all these penalties, but I do know what happens on film. And I went back and I looked at all the times that C.J. Stroud was pressured last week. I think he had 12 pressures. On 4 of those pressures, they were allowed by Kenyon Green, who just got bullied or beat completely. And then 4 of those that were by Kenyon Green, out of those 4, 2 of those turned into C.J. Stroud sacks. So he allowed the 2 sacks that happened last week versus the Jaguars. So Kenyon Green has become a liability, as well as the false starts and holding penalties from Laramie Tunsil. Laramie Tunsil, change your gloves. This guy's wearing bright red freaking gloves last week, and he's basically telling the referees to look at him and where he's placing his hands. Please color match them. Wear white gloves, because we know the Bills are going to wear all white. Wear white gloves, all right? That's simple as that. Or wear dark navy gloves that match your uniform. I don't want to see him with baby blue gloves, and I don't want to see him wearing red gloves. He's an idiot if he does that. It's just stupid. It's really dumb. You're an offensive line. Tape your fingers. Why are you wearing bright gloves where the referees can see when you're doing something stupid because you're getting beat or you're holding or whatever? You're just giving him an excuse. You're trying to be too flashy. You're a freaking offensive lineman. You don't need to be dripped out and swaggy poo or whatever the hell, dude. All right, just stop with that shit and chill and play freaking football already, Laramie Tunsil. All right, I'm gonna try not to rag on them too much, but look at Kenyon Green since week 2. Oh my God, 38.6 grade, worst out of any lineman. 45.1 run blocking grade, which is the 3rd worst. No wonder we can't run the freaking football. 12 pressures allowed, like I said, 4th worst. 9 hurries. I think all those 12 pressures came in this last game. I'm not gonna lie. No, I'm just joking. He had 4 pressures allowed this last week. 9 hurries, which is the 3rd worst. The 5 penalties, 3rd worst. Guess who's number 1? Week 1 was fun, but at some point we got to move on from this guy. According to Jacob Stroud for MVP off of Twitter. I like that. This man right here, though, undisciplined football. Total penalties for the Houston Texans, 28, the 3rd most in the NFL this season. And this is at just like some point in the game. I'm sure it got worse. All right, this is just a screenshot that I took from the game. So, yeah, I titled this slide Fuck Tunsil. All right. I think I'm done venting about Bobby Slowick and the offensive line a little bit. Let's see. My bad, stupid voice command. I was talking about Bill O'Brien. Yes, Bill O'Brien. Correct. Yeah. What an idiot. But yeah, B.O.B. Derek, I have to get Laramie. You have to get me a Laramie Tunsil jersey for Christmas. My favorite player. Yeah, dude. We have so much money tied into this guy, and I get it. He's pass protecting, and he does a fairly good job. There's a clip of him when C.J. Stroud tries to scramble for the touchdown, where he's standing around for 5 seconds and doesn't block anybody. I'm gonna go find that clip. It's just, oh man, it's so infuriating. I can't even say that. It's just annoying. Infuriating. There you go. Laramie. Bro, his parents didn't know if they should name him Jeremy or Larry. Oh, man. So, Laramie Tunsil, there's got to be a media video here of this play. I think it was just like standing around. Oh, they have the gas mask video. That's fun. That's up here. That's never going away. Oh, this is funny. I will not false start like Bart Simpson writing it on the chalkboard. These are really good. Man, people hate Laramie Tunsil just as much as me right now. But yeah, he needs to chill. He needs to get it together. I'll find that play and I'll post it probably next week or something. I'll share it with you guys. Maybe I shared it on my profile actually. Now that I think about it. Let's see. No, I didn't. But it was hilarious. Did I bookmark it? I may have bookmarked it. Let's check all the avenues because I really want to show you this play. Stefon Diggs scoring on a broken play. Kamari Lassiter. Yeah, we'll talk about the defense right now, and I'll go back to this game a little bit. But that way you guys can just maybe see some quick highlights here without any sound. But darn, I thought I really had saved that play from Laramie, but I guess I just liked it at some point. But literally, he sort of blocks his guy into and moves him over to the center or the guard, and they're like double teaming him. So he has nobody to block because the other linemen have rushed past him. They're chasing C.J. Stroud around like a chicken with his head cut off. And so Laramie's not even looking at the play behind him. All that's happening, he's standing there waiting for somebody to come at him so that, he could block, right? And then CJ breaks all those tackles and he starts running towards the goal line. So then Laramie gets some action coming his way. And before he can get his hands down on the guy to block him, that guy makes the tackle on CJ. So he's just standing around. He didn't do shit, didn't block anybody that entire play. It was ridiculous. So there's little things like that just piss me off. Oh, yeah, I do. I'm not a fan of this Laramie, Jeremy. They need to chill. Yeah, we don't promote any of that stuff. Yeah, but yeah, we don't do that on the show. Keep yourself in the video when you show the play, bro. You can track the video. Yeah, exactly. Well, I couldn't find the play, so unfortunately. But yeah, let's move on from Laramie Tunsil. Before I do move into the defense about Jacksonville and all that, I do want to just mention that Dalton Schultz is a cardio king. He's running the most freaking routes out of all tight ends in the NFL, and he's only getting targeted on 10%. And that's the effect that having three, big time kind of wide receivers has had on him. So this is obviously this is provided by Cap and Trade, so thank you for the graphic. But this is the Texans cap here, just kind of letting you know that, hey man, Dalton Schultz is out there running a lot of routes, not really getting targeted, so that sucks a lot, right? Yeah, Dallas Goedert though, the receiving yards and the 20% target share looks good. Trey McBride 24%, Jake Ferguson at 20. Everything in red is bad, guys. So just so you know that, right? But Dalton Schultz kind of in intermediate to bad as far as his receiving yards, but only the 10% target share for having the most routes run up there is just ridiculous. 123 routes compared to somebody like Zach Ertz, who's run 98, and he's just borderline in the middle, and he's provided better tight end play. So if you play in tight end leagues, get out of those, add the extra flex, make it a premium. You'll thank me later. Oh, that was a secret. I'm sorry, Tino. Shh. We should. I should try to play some like on a screen somehow, or have never know. It could happen. Actually, like in these motion backgrounds, how they're going or whatever, we can have just overlays going, and we can do videos in the background. So I'm pretty sure there's ways to do that. The only problem with that is I think on here, these backgrounds are limited to maybe like 5 minutes tops. I don't even think so, to be honest. Let's see. What's the longest background loop I have on here? Oh, it's a size, so it would have to be pre-recorded for it to be on the background. Just the tip. Like these are some of the other backgrounds that are on here, but I could play videos in the background if I wanted to. And there's one without all the motion stuff if you guys are getting sick. But yes, back to the task at hand. I did have. Oh yeah, I meant to put this on the bottom. They're going to break out the H-Town blue uniforms for the first time in team history. This will be the first time also that there won't be a bullhead on the helmet. They're going to go with that new H-Town alternate logo. And then here's some fun facts. CJ Stroud is 9-1 in his last 10 home games. So his home and road splits are, if you guys don't know, he's really good at home. He doesn't do as well. I think he averages 4 less fantasy points on the road. And then if it's outside in bad weather or against a top 16 defense, I guess a top half defense, that difference turns to like 5.5, almost 6 points less. So CJ Stroud versus a good team on the road, outside in the rain, don't play him. That I would just say sit him, right? But in this instance, he's at home in the dome. Bills are kind of banged up on a short week. So, I mean, for some people, he'd be a sit. It just depends on, who else you got there, who's on the waiver wire, I guess, if you're willing to stream over him. But I think that he's still startable for fantasy on the at home. And I'm talking about CJ Stroud. Sorry. I know I have the Dalton Schultz graphic up there, but I'll take that down. I can continue to talk about CJ Stroud. So, yeah. So CJ, for me, like I said, he's fringe quarterback 1 numbers. He could finish as a QB2 here, just depends. But we'll talk about the Bills. Might as well just get into it and talk about the Bills here. So, I did want to talk about Houston's defense real fast. So, I know that they give up some receiving yards, and it seems like their defense is bad because they rank 11th against the fantasy wide receivers, right? But their individual coverage guys are actually pretty decent. And there you have the numbers there, 54.3 completion percentage and just 4.3 yards against when the offense targets the slot. So really good in the slot with Petrie and Murray. Murray's been playing out of his mind as well. So really good to see that. Their defense can improve, right? And shout out to Jordan Punn. This dude's really good. Texans thoughts. He used to put out a lot of videos. Haven't seen him doing much of it this season, but he always had some really good information. So the Texans defense is 4th in sacks with 14, 2nd in pressure rate, 41%. A lot of that has to do with Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. 5th in yards allowed per game at 274. And that's because they've been giving up a lot of big plays, either a big run once a game or a big pass once or twice a game. So having some trouble on third downs, but I think that's just, lack of experience in the secondary and not finishing. They've been getting the pressures there, but they haven't really been finishing a lot of those plays with the sacks, in my opinion. I think that they could get that up higher, especially at only 14 sacks with a 41% rate. I think that could be a lot better. So they've been allowing these quarterbacks to kind of escape and get, not necessarily finishing these plays. And then you see some of the negatives there, 22nd in points allowed per games, giving up those touchdowns. A lot of that has to do with turning the ball over in their own red zone on like muff punts or interceptions on first plays of the game and things like that. So shortened fields for the defense, that always hurts. And then they haven't been taking the ball away other than a few early interceptions from our defensive guys. Each one of them has one, I believe, in like the first 3 games, none last week, which is really surprising. Trevor Lawrence was missing a lot of receivers. I felt like they should have taken the ball away at some point. They muffed a punt. Steve Sims is probably going to be cut, or you're not going to see a lot of him. And then, of course, the defense here, 28th in red zone scoring allowed, and I think that's because they've just been set up in a lot of bad positions early on in a couple of these games. So unfortunate, but it is what it is. Let's see. Let's check it back in. Oh, RA. Appreciate you, Derek. No problem, man. Thanks for checking in. You're sick of the Dallas defense? Yeah, I dropped the Houston defense for the Green Bay defense in a league. So that's okay, Tino. No worries. He says, my bad, I've been drinking. The Cowboys will do that to you at times, but you guys aren't in a bad spot, man. They still have a really I think the Cowboys have a top 10 ranked like scoring offense regardless. So they haven't been running the ball very well, but they'll fix it, or they'll start leaning more towards Dowdle, right? Do I have the Rico drop? I don't think I have it on this brand. I'd have to switch over. Little break here, 30 minutes in. It's about a halfway point. Wish you guys are heading on over to neonpeacockmerch.com, checking out all the cool gear that I have up there. I was going to drop some stuff today, but I had to prep for this show. But you can find some cool stuff out there. I don't have a Stroud shirt up there like this. I got the Nico Frico with this design. I also have this alternate Nico Collins t-shirt up there. This first and foremost Stroud, I believe, is available. And obviously the latest Tank Dell t-shirt is also available for purchase up there. I haven't dropped an H-Town Huddle shirt, but I have the logo right here. Might as well just do it. Maybe you can do a Nightmare Fuel shirt. That's cool too. I like that. So let's move in. I think I talked about the defense, right? I don't know if I have any more slides about them. Now that just they can improve. Derek Stingley did have 2 great pass breakups. Here's a nice shot of one of those right there on Gabe Davis. Look at that hand just in there breaking it. Great defense. They had to play a triangle defense on this. He was basically face guarding the whole time. Didn't even have to turn around and look for the ball. And then once Davis went up for the point of contact, Stingley just went up there and broke it up with his hands without any contact. Very well played, no flags. And then he had another one later in the game when the Jags were driving on, I believe it was like 3rd and 12 or something like that. And he was trying to get it over to Brian Thomas. Stingley came in over the top and punched that ball away. So really good defense by our man, Derek Stingley. Right. Playing really good football as of late, and still lockdown. I think his PFF grade was like above 90. He had 11. I think it was like 11 yards allowed or something, or 11 targets and 2 pass breakups. I don't remember what the 11 was for, but solid numbers regardless. Yeah. In other news, and here's the injury report for the Houston Texans this week. Doing the injury. Oh, you know what? I think I have something for this. Injury report for the Texans. All right. So right off the top, Derek Barnett with a shoulder injury did not practice. Not too concerned because we've had some guys activated off the injury or the short-term IR who will be back to replace some of the defensive line, but we'll get into that. Tank Dell was limited at practice, looked pretty good out there from the videos that I saw, just kind of running some routes, not necessarily going full speed. It's more of like a walkthrough type Wednesday practice for everybody today, kind of like a 75% speed kind of deal. Jake Hansen was limited. He's back. That's a linebacker. Excuse me. he's kind of like a backup rotational piece, hasn't really been getting on the field, so it doesn't matter. Kurt Heinisch, though, that's good news. He's back from the short-term IR, and that's a defensive lineman that, has been solid for us in the past in the interior, so he should provide some interior help. And then, of course, the big story here, guys, Dylan Horton. It says here that it's listed with an illness, and he is a full participant in practice. He has recovered from stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. Congratulations, young man. Giving you a hell yeah. Appreciate, just the best stuff. Best news ever. I beat cancer. It's in remission. And he went through his first full practice today. First full practice since November. He was diagnosed last season. So really cool. Great to hear that stuff. Good for you. Good for you, Dylan Horton. And I think I have a banner for him somewhere, so you guys can kind of see who he is. Where is Mr. Dylan? Dylan. There he is. So he returns to practice following his December 1st, excuse me, I said November, but yeah, November was the last time he practiced. His December 1st, 2023 stage 4 cancer diagnosis. So really happy to see him back and to be a contributor for this Houston Texans team as well this season. So good news there. Continuing on, Jerry Hughes was limited. He missed last week with a hip injury, so that's also good. Hopefully he can push through, get a full practice either Thursday or Friday, and then be able to play. Of course, Joe Mixon, this is the huge news, Sir Mix-a-Lot. We don't know. So Joe Mixon seemed like he was really close to playing last week. He suited up on Friday, made the practice, was limited in a limited fashion, and then did not suit up for Sunday. So I don't know what happened there. If either he tweaked something with the ankle or they're just holding him out. Typically with a high ankle sprain, it's either you missed no weeks or 1 week, right? Or you missed 3 weeks, right? Or you go on the IR, right? And I don't think it's that bad. This would be the 3rd week. So if he misses, I wouldn't be surprised, but it would really, really hurt because the Bills have a crappy run defense and Joe Mixon is so good. So I'm hoping that they held him out last week. Nothing happened to send him back. This is just another rest day on Wednesday because of the tenderness, and that he can log a full practice either Thursday or Friday, and the arrow will be pointing up for the Houston Texans run game. This will help give the offensive line some confidence. If they can get the run game going, then the play actions going, then the protection for CJ's better, the offensive line plays better, everybody else plays better, right? So I think Joe Mixon is a huge key to what's going on with the Houston Texans these last couple of weeks. Hold on. Let's see. Float like a butterfly. Derek Stingley like a bee. That's right, sir. You're telling me Tank Dell is fudding? Fudding? Tino, you are drunk. You have to play a no limit jam with Tank. I know. I love that. That's a good idea. Definitely got to do that. So we'll see. So right now we don't know. Yeah, if you're talking about Horton, he is practicing. I don't know if he's playing, but Tank Dell is trending towards playing. So be on the lookout for that. Like I said, he practiced in a limited fashion, but it looked like almost full to me. He had his helmet on. He was doing stuff. The guy who, like I said, who didn't practice was Joe Mixon. And then another one here that's listed as did not practice, but was actually at practice. It just didn't have his helmet on, but it had his other gear, is Mr. Dameon Pierce. So even if we get him back, that's still like a nice 1-2 punch that we could have with him and Cam Akers, perhaps, just to try to get the run game going if Joe Mixon is out. I do like Dario Gubonwale in the pass game. He obviously had a great game last week. Really like that. Found the end zone for the game winner. It was 3rd and 18, and they dumped it down to him underneath, and he was able to wiggle, wobble, weave through traffic and pick up like 21 yards and extend that drive for the Texans. So he's been playing extremely well as well. So that's a full-blown RBCC if Joe Mixon cannot make it. But like I said, Dameon Pierce, something to keep an eye on. He was trending. The news was last week that, he was going to be coming back from that hamstring injury, and then all of a sudden he didn't practice. Oh, no, he's not. And we're kind of back to the same thing this week, but he was out there kind of jogging around without a helmet. Juice Scruggs was limited. That's the center with a hip injury that he's been dealing with since he missed 2 weeks ago. Laramie Tunsil did messed up his foot/ankle at some point in the Jaguars game. I don't know if you guys recall that. He was out. Then we had a nice drive with the backup. And then I don't know, fudding like football practice, FUD drill. No, I mean, we always went hard. No, I'm just joking. We used to just call it shell because we wear the shoulder pads on top and shorts, but we didn't refer to it as fudding because our coaches were not white. I don't know. That just sounds like the FUD. I don't know. Maybe I've never heard of it, honestly. I've heard of other terms for light practices, but I've never heard of fudding. That's a new one to me. I don't know if that's a West Coast thing or what, but light practices. Light practices for us were typically Thursday, I guess, like the day before the game, because we played our football games on Friday nights. So I think Thursday was just a helmet, and that was super light. We're in shimmel and helmet, right? And that was it. And then the day before that was Wednesday, so that we had shell, which is shoulder pads on top, and just like pads and shorts. And Mondays and Tuesdays were full hard practices. So let's see. It's called fudding because most coaches think it's fucking around. Oh, okay. It's just fucking around. Got you, fudding. They had to keep it clean. I see. Elmer Ford says Bogart. Yeah. That's when I thought of fudding. That's who I thought of. I thought of Elmer Fudd. And then, of course, yeah, we're talking about Laramie Tunsil. He did miss some time with a tweaked ankle, came out of the game, and then he was back in there. At some point in the season, I do expect Laramie Tunsil to just miss Wednesday practices all the time and then be limited on Thursdays and then have a full practice Friday and then play like he did basically every week last week for the last 10 weeks. That he was basically on the injury report like that every week with his knee issue, I believe is what it was. So just keep an eye on that. And then last but not least, Jimmy Ward was limited with a groin injury. He did not make the game last week. Kalen Bullock has been playing really well in his place. Honestly, when Jimmy Ward's out there, sometimes he's a liability to me, in my opinion. The coaches really like him. I don't know why. I think you let the young guy out there. Kalen Bullock had a game-saving play last week versus the Colts. He chased down Tank Bigsby, and if not for that play, then we would not have had a goal line stand there where they turn the ball over and get 0 points. So any other person, I don't think Jimmy Ward has the wheels to make this play on Tank Bigsby. So, and I'll show that to you guys here just shortly if you want to. I can do this one. This one I do have. Quick share screen to my bookmarks and share. And then so here is the end of that play. You take a look at, there you go. You take a look at the hustle like it says there, and he's sprinting downfield, shoestring tackle, steps out of bounds there at the 2-yard line. And then the Texans end up having a huge 4-down stand there where the Jacksonville Jaguars do not score any points. And this is like a 60-yard run, so obviously it or longer. So it does kind of skew the Texans' run defense a little bit, but they're still really, really good. And Cali coaches can't cuss. What? It's abuse? Are you serious? Wow, that's wild to me, dude. Oh, wow. That's crazy. If that's crazy, if true. No, I believe you. So moving on now. Let's see if there's any other things that I wanted to talk about from last week's game before we do move on to the Bills. I've been saying we're going to move on to the Bills, but okay, here's a quick clip of Derek Stingley saving the game for the Texans twice, like I mentioned, with his pass breakups. The guy's really good. Really, really good.
2 possessions going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I don't need the commentary, bro. I can do that. So here's Lawrence out of the pocket to the left, and that's the play I was talking about where he was playing triangle and shadowing, and he just sticks the hand in there late. And the game is close. The game's on the line. Here's the second one, and this is from the opposite angle. It's a different play. It's 3rd down and long here, and they're going to convert, right, if Stingley doesn't come, or they have a chance to if Stingley doesn't come in and put the clamps right there, punch that ball away. Honestly, if Petrie wasn't in the way there, he may have pick 6 that and sealed the deal for the Texans and not have to have CJ Stroud mount that amazing comeback. But we want the fantasy points, and so that's fine. And this is just great, like I said, coverage by everybody all around. There's Bullock, 21, the rookie, getting the I don't know if that's Davis or Robinson. I guess it's Robinson getting passed off from Petrie to Bullock. And obviously the guy here is talking about Gabe Davis's route. But you see Petrie pass off Robinson right there. And then Bullock is going to play the same type of shadow coverage that Stingley plays. And so if the ball was going to go that way, they'd play it the exact same way. There probably wouldn't be a penalty flag because it's just played perfectly. So really good coverage. I know these guys get a lot of hate for the the big plays and that they're not as good as they're, supposed to be. You have 2 rookies playing in the secondary, guys, and Stingley's locked down. So Petry's a hard hitter. It's just situational stuff. Sometimes you get Petry out in coverage, doesn't work out as well. Sometimes the rookie gets beat, so it happens. It's not, he's not a superstar lockdown corner on the other side, but I think that the secondary is good enough to lock down some of these Buffalo Bills receivers coming up in this next game. Let's see. Yeah, Tino's saying that's the truth. It'd be demoralizing if he ran that 60-yard house call. Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Sandra Bullock's son, Kalen Bullock. Yeah. Big momentum shift. Yeah, for sure. I mean, think about it. The Jags were knocking on the door. We're going to put the game away. They end up not scoring. They run the ball twice, get stuffed with ETN, I believe. Or no, I'm sorry. Bigsby gets stuffed twice because he's tired or some shit. Then they try a pass and it gets deflected or it's a throwaway. And then they try a quarterback sneak or quarterback draw with Sunshine, who's just not really good. And the Texans defense sniffed that out. There's actually a quote where D'Amico knows that when they give him this look, they were going to run a quarterback sneak, whether it was going to be either under center or a draw from shotgun. And so him and Azeez Al-Shaair in communication already knew the call before the play on that 4th down. And they were basically saying, hey, this is it's just going to be a quarterback keeper here. And they were able to hold him off. So amazing play. I can't believe it actually happened. Thoughts on Christian Harris coming back and how it affects H2O? Guess what? He's not coming back. Breaking news. Christian Harris is not ready to return from his injury, and they are not activating him off of the reserve list. That he would have been listed as a full participant there in the injury report. He is not going to be activated, unfortunately. So H2O, still fire up the H2O. We won't see many 3 linebacker sets for the defense. It's going to be mostly H2O and Al-Shaair, and then you'll have some Petry and or Ward mixed in, playing like a hybrid linebacker role a lot of the times, crowding the line of scrimmage and still being able to cover a 3rd slot receiver. That way they're not out of position personnel-wise, the Texans. Yeah, legit coverage. Exactly. Yeah, I wanted to show you guys those plays. They're actually really good. There's several of those plays. There were a couple of plays where they got beat. One by Christian Kirk where he was overthrown horrendously by Trevor Lawrence. So it's just, I remember being, oh no, and the ball was in the air and I was like, he's open. And then the ball lands 5 yards ahead of Christian Kirk. So I was like, whew. And then he missed Brian Thomas a couple of times as well. Brian Thomas did have that nice touchdown to start the game. It was from like 3 yards out because of a muffed punt by Steven Sims, who I said is probably not going to be getting a lot of return work anymore. I do hope that the Texans at least try to put Tank Dell in the return game, returning punts in that position, because at least he can catch the football and wave for a fair catch. I don't believe that he'll get hurt returning punts out there. So let him do what he does, give him the ball in space and allow him to make plays. Don't make him gadgety and give him those damn end arounds. You can put him in motion and then send him out. That way you can know if they're playing zone or whatever it is. But I'd like to see him be, and I'm talking Tank Dell here, have some design plays where he's the first read for CJ Stroud, or if not, at least the second. And it doesn't always have to be so fucking vanilla, Bobby Slowick, where we're running on first down or play actioning on first down, right? And then it's run again on second down just to try to get some yards. And then we're force feeding Nico on third. It's getting old. So hopefully Bobby Slowick, like I mentioned earlier, can kind of change things up a little bit and mix it up for us. But yeah, I like the defense, how they play. Sometimes, like I said, they're overly aggressive and they can get beat on a big play, but it doesn't happen often. And the point of the way that this defense works is those 4 guys up front are supposed to be able to get home and cause some more havoc and cause bad throws. And it just kind of hasn't been happening for them as often as they'd like, I think, or as often as I'd like. Like I said, 4th in the league in sacks and, or second in where's the damn graphic? They're high up there. I think they're 4th in sacks and like 2nd in pressure, but the sack rate could be a lot higher. McCallie, Cowboy is the Texans versus Cowboys game big in Texas. Yeah, it is. The only thing I know is Raiders Niners, and that's gone. Yeah, no, it's definitely big. A lot of shit talking. People are. It's almost like a big rivalry now. I don't think the Texans feel like the little bro anymore. A lot of people do say that the Texans are the best team in Texas. I think that everything's just changed after last year, so you don't get a lot of hate like we used to get, or there's been some respect put on the Texans name now, as far as I know, from when I go places and talk to people, and just being a little more proud to wear the gear, right? So, but it is a big deal. People will be talking their shit. It is how it goes, and that's gonna be a fun game too. when we get there. But let's talk about how the Texans, I know it wasn't pretty. Like I said, they lost to the Vikings a couple weeks ago. The Bills are a really scary team. They were like the best, blowing people out. And then they had a little hiccup last week with the Baltimore Ravens. And here is the Buffalo Bills injury report, courtesy of Bills PR, with the horrible graphic. Like, look at how plain and boring this graphic is for them. But anyways, Josh Allen was a full participant with the left hand. He was also reported to have some back soreness, but he was a full participant today, so nothing to be worried about there. Terrell Bernard missed last week, but he was limited in practice today with the pectoral muscle. Deion Dawkins didn't practice with hamstring soreness. So this is going to be, a big thing here as far as Texans like Daniel Hunter, Will Anderson Jr. getting some pressures there from, a backup tackle if Deion Dawkins isn't able to suit up. Austin Johnson didn't practice with an oblique. That's a defensive tackle guy. I think he's just like a rotational player, so it's not a big deal, but, still somebody who can plug up the run defense for the Bills in the middle. Cornerback Teron Johnson was limited with a forearm injury. We'll see how that plays out. Obviously, if he's not out there as well, that's another big piece. Quentin Morris' shoulder was full. Safety Taylor Rapp didn't practice with a concussion, so that's another one to be on the lookout for there. Little things here. Wide receiver Khalil Shakir didn't practice with an ankle, and nobody cares about Mitch Trubisky. But Khalil Shakir, major, got to keep an eye on that. That's like their top pass catcher out there. Taylor Rapp, a safety. If he's not out there, that's over the top. Could be big news for guys like Tank Dell, Nico Collins, right? And then of course the quarterback Teron Johnson as well. More good news for wide receivers. And then, the big news that we haven't even talked about yet is Von Miller. Hijo de puta. This guy got suspended. So, it is what it is. Let's see here. What's Bogart saying in the chat? I say that and the numbers show it. Although I get the best team in Texas. It's the Heat. Yeah. Look at who the Bills played so far this year. It's not the greatest before they played Baltimore. Okay. Yeah, I got to look at their schedule. They were blowing the shit out of teams, though. I mean, if you can do that, you blow the crappy teams away. That's what you're supposed to be doing, right? Hamlin, you motherfucker, how dare you let karma smack me in the face? So here's the initial report. Von Miller has been suspended. This is from Pan y Circo NFL. Von Miller, hijo de puta. Pésima noticia. La suspensión de Von Miller se debe a acusaciones que golpeó a su novia embarazada en noviembre del año pasado, reporta Adam Schefter, una noticia muy triste en el mundo del NFL. Fuck this guy. I read that in Spanish. Sorry, guys. I pulled this one off of Spanish to a Twitter account. Basically, all it says is that Von Miller is suspended for supposedly some domestic dispute that came about last November from last year where he assaulted his pregnant girlfriend. So it is going to be, I believe, a 4-game suspension. Let me translate. Von does not like pregnant women. Yeah, that's pretty much what it says here in this one. But yeah, Von Miller will not be here. So he was there basically, their Daniil Hunter, for them on the other side here. So that's even better news for Laramie Tunsil. Maybe he'll have less tendencies to false start with Von Miller, not coming up on that side. He probably would have actually been lining up on the other side or maybe off the middle or wherever they wanted to send him from. But, less pressure. So that's one less guy to worry about, one less guy that may be making a huge play for the Bills late in the game. So here's the official statement from the NFL in English. Von Miller of the Buffalo Bills is suspended for 4 games without pay for violating the NFL's PCP, which is the personal conduct policy. And Miller will be eligible for reinstatement on October 28th in the Bills' Week 8 game versus the Seahawks. So this game's already shaping up to be something kind of interesting. Just when you think that the Texans don't stand a chance after getting blown out by the Vikings, their offense hasn't looked good and has been kind of struggling. They've had some injuries. All of a sudden, Texans are getting a little healthier while the Bills are trending in the opposite direction. Let's see. Von's always in trouble. It's his only issue. Yeah, and he's been a great player. And unfortunately, this I can't get along with. And shame on those Bills fans who are out there supporting Von Miller in this instance. He deserves the suspension to the fullest. And it couldn't have come at a better time this week versus the Texans. So this one's a tweet from Ayo Texas Nation, CJ Anderson season. This guy, I love his content. Go give him a follow. It's really good stuff out there. But if Stefon Diggs needed any extra motivation for Sunday's game versus his former team, here it is. And these are direct quotes from Josh Allen. It's fun and wonderful thing when you got a bunch of guys that don't care about the stats. He's also said that Stefon's a great player. I don't know if I'd say that he misses him. Tremendous player, but the offense didn't need him anymore. And that's basically, I guess, a true statement, right, for the way that they've been playing their backyard. Let Josh Allen just be back there and scramble and throw to whoever's open type of offense, which was working just fine and dandy for the first 3 weeks, but not so much last week as we saw. And here's a cool little passing and rushing efficiency chart for this first 4 weeks here. And there's the Bills offense, though. Really good in their rush and pass EPA without Stefon Diggs, right, obviously. So they're still up there, but like Bogart mentioned, they had some runaway games. And then after this, kind of getting knocked back into the pack, I think that they were off the chart, probably closer up there to where my H-Town Huddle logo was a couple of weeks ago when I looked at this graphic. But the Texans were a little more towards the center where the Colts are, but now they've dropped down into the lower right quadrant a little bit, but still on the right side of the graph, which is still pretty good, right? You want to be in the upper right-hand quadrant like the Niners and Vikings and Saints and even the Bucks as of late, and Green Bay just trending on that line. But, still, like I said, on the right side. And look at the lowly Raiders. And look at the Titans way back there. Not good, Bob. So lower left quadrant, not as good. Miami, the Browns. That's just typically how these graphs work, right? From lower left all the way to the upper right is better. In case you guys didn't know. All right, now you know. If you don't know, then now you know. Yeah. Beautiful stuff. The Raiders. Yeah. You saw that too. I'm pretty sure the Raiders could use Cook. Yeah, man. The Raiders could use a lot of help. I did like the Trey Tucker pickup this week. He could be kind of sneaky, especially if you play in leagues where you get return yards, because he does do some of the special team stuff as well. They've used him on end arounds. He's a small little quick guy. Kind of reminds me of like kind of like an Edelman type. I don't want to, he's not a Hall of Famer or anything, but kind of like that in a sense, but a little quicker, maybe like a Tank Dell-ish, kind of used in the Raiders offense. So he looked really good last week, and they used him on a couple of end arounds. I think he scored a touchdown on one of those. Kind of gadgety, but still an all-around quick, really good guy. Tiny player, but Trey Tucker, man. I mean, shit, I'm going to play him. Let Trey Tucker RB, let him run outside. Exactly, yeah. Let him run at RB. I know they need the help at RB over there as well. So I think that's probably why you saw a couple of those end arounds from Trey Tucker. But I think I'm flexing him. I'm in for right now. It's between. I was going to say it's between him and Tank Dell, but I think I actually have to play them both because I have AJ Brown injured. I just lost Rice. I have Jamo on a bye, so all my receivers are kind of down right now. I think I'm just going to have to play those two and roll with the punches. Play some tight ends. Tough week, guys, with the bye weeks rolling around. But like I said, I think Tank is still probably a decent start. He's the only one who's on the edge of being started. You saw the Dalton Schultz metrics. He's running a heck of a lot of routes. He's just not seeing a huge target share. Now with Tank Dell back, I don't know if that opens things up for him or makes it worse, to be honest. So he's not somebody that I'm necessarily playing. CJ Stroud at home in a game that I think has like a 47-point over-under. I like him versus, this defense. I don't think it's necessarily super scary. The Bills are susceptible to the run. They're like the worst against the running back, which is why I hope Joe Mixon's back, and then we can just get this offense to kind of open up a little bit. But if that's not the case, the Texans have shown that they can throw even against some of the best defenses and put up some good fantasy numbers. So Nico Collins is an auto start, must start. I think CJ Stroud, like I said, is a fringe QB1 in this game with potential to finish as a solid QB. And Stefon Diggs revenge narrative. We barely talked about it, but there it is, the Stefon Diggs revenge narrative. He gets to play his old team. He's really downplayed the whole thing as far as the media asking him questions, and he's just like, it's just another game, it's another week or whatever. But you know that he's really amped up probably for this one, so it should make for good TV. It's a early game slot, unfortunately. That's the noon time. That should have been played on a Sunday night or even maybe a Monday night football here on week 5 for us, but it should be a good one to watch early on. So make sure that you guys are settled in and you're checking that out. I know that we'll be answering questions on our Grit Don't Quit Sunday Start Sit. I don't even know what Bogart meant for that stuff to rhyme, but it did. Show. So we'll definitely be taking questions there and doing stuff. But, you know, before I go, I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows fuck Laramie Tunsil. And check out the neonpeacockmerch.com website. I will be having some sales coming up really soon, like really, really, really soon. So please go check that out. The website is up there, neonpeacockmerch.com. I will run a quick commercial for you guys before I get up out of here. That way you can see that. And also be making sure that you're checking out our guys with the Wake Your Game Up on Friday mornings. That's coming up pretty soon. We will have a Thursday night watch party as well. So make sure you guys are doing that, checking that stuff out. We got all the cool stuff going on over here. But neonpeacockmerch.com. Make sure you guys are visiting that and checking it out. And there you have it from our sponsor, neonpeacockmerch.com. So, score predictions for this one. Like I said, 40, I think it's like a 47 over under. I'm going to say, man, this might actually, I'm going to take the over on this one. I think that it might turn into a shootout. Hopefully it's a really close game, to be honest. I'm going to go ahead and say, man, I'd be really bad if I don't think the Texans win this game, to be honest. But if the injuries stay trending the way that they are, the Bills are missing so many guys, right? And it stays the way that it is. If Joe Mixon is back or is trending to play, and the Bills are without their tackle and some of their secondary, then I would have the Texans squeaking this game out 31-29 Houston. If the Bills are fully healthy, right, then I might flip the score the other way around, but I'm going to go ahead and put Houston up over this, just judging on the injury report that I saw earlier. A lot of banged up Bills, plus the suspension of Von Miller. Right, look at the lot of questionable guys out there. I mean, Terrell Bernard didn't play last week. He did get in some limited practices, but there's no guarantee he plays. Deion Dawkins with a hamstring does not look good. Teron Johnson was limited with a forearm, so maybe he plays, right? But I still think that Nico will do his thing, or Diggs will do his thing. Taylor Rapp probably isn't going to play. I don't think that he plays. And then if Khalil Shakir is out as well, doesn't bode well, I think, for Josh Allen. He's going to have to do a lot of stuff on the run. I think the big thing, and of course the suspension there, but I think the big thing is going to be these guys getting to Josh Allen, forcing him to bring him down or forcing him into some stupid mistakes. The Texans are 6-5 all time versus the Buffalo Bills. They did lose their first matchup back in 2002. But the last couple of times the Texans have had the Bills number, including a playoff wild card win at home when J.J. Watt was still with us and Deshaun Watson was the quarterback, when Josh Allen just did stupid Josh Allen things like fumbling the ball backwards for no reason at all. So I think if their tackle is missing, that could bode well for Houston to cause some havoc in the backfield and actually get home. And I think that will be the difference for once in the game. If they can do that, then they have a really good shot. And then, of course, if Joe Mixon's there, they can just run the ball down the 32nd ranked running defense in the National Football League. So that's the way to do it. Hopefully it pans out that way. If it doesn't, then it's going to have to be more CJ and Nico magic and just pulling one out of your ass. And hopefully there's no more penalties. Obviously, cleaning up the penalties and keeping those to a minimum is like the first step. If the Texans can get out of their own way, keep the stakes down, then this offense is going to score twice as many points as what they've been putting up these last few weeks, right? So a lot of drive-killing penalties, a lot of times where they have to punt the football when CJ had the chains moving already. So I don't know how many times I saw that. I don't want to see it happen anymore. They need to get it fixed, or some things are definitely going to have to change. So we'll see how that fares for them this week. Tino, Neon, thanks, man. You make my traps what? Oh, the tanks. I thought you said thanks. I read that wrong. Neon tanks make you look buffer. My traps gained 88 HP. There we go. I had so much trouble reading that, man. How many points for Collins as far as this week? Well, he's averaged more than, as far as fantasy points, I'm not entirely sure, but I think he's been upwards of 10 fantasy points. So that's his floor. You could get up to 30. But against the Buffalo Bills in a shootout, I'm going to say 16 fantasy points for Nico Collins with the return of Tank Dell and Joe Mixon, I guess. So let's say everybody's fully healthy. He doesn't hit his true ceiling this game. He has probably 115 receiving yards and possibly a touchdown. So what does that put him at? Well, actually, that put him closer to 20 fantasy points. So, somewhere in that range, 16 to 20. But he's that dude. He is that dude. And I don't know if you were here for the start of the broadcast, Drizzle, but I went extensively into Nico Collins' pause. A lot of his stats, let's see, where is he? There's his yardage, obviously. He's leading the league. There's his breakdown in this last game, 151-1, 15 targets. So I think he gets anywhere between 10 and 12 targets or 8 to 12 targets this week. 80 to 100, 90 to 115 in receiving yards. Like I said, it just depends on who's out there, right? If the Texans are at full strength, maybe they don't have to lean on Collins necessarily so much, but the 10 targets a game is what he's averaging. And then his average depth of target is somewhere in that range as well. So, anytime he gets targeted, he's pulling down fantasy points. He's a highly graded wide receiver. He's just completely balling. So CJ even missed him on a couple of throws here, as we pointed out at the beginning of the broadcast, where he could have had another touchdown and an over 200-yard game. So, like I said, he keeps getting open. There's some pressure. CJ has to scramble around. He's been looking for him this year a lot more than Tank Dell. So we'll see, like I said, how that goes. But I think the sky's obviously the limit for Mr. Nico Collins. And I do have, if you go over to my website, I have a full 7-minute long Nico Collins highlight video with Madden music in the background. If you guys want to go get excited about that, I could watch that all day. I might actually just do it when I get off of this broadcast. But that being said, like I mentioned, I think 31-29 was my score. I have the Texans taking this one at home. It's an early game window. If you're going to the game, show up and show out early. Be there in your seat. Stefon Diggs revenge game narrative going on with this one. So they're breaking out the new uniforms. Everything should be in tip-top working order, hopefully, as far as health goes for the Houston Texans. They should be getting everybody back. And like I said, they got a couple of guys back off of the IR. So things are trending up. We'll see where we go, right? So appreciate everybody once again for joining me tonight. Make sure you tell your friends. We do this, or I do this every Wednesday. And then Thursday nights, we have the watch party on the GWN network where we're watching the Thursday night football games. Friday mornings, we have Wake Your Game Up. Take Saturday off to prep for the all-day marathon that is the Grit Don't Quit on Sundays, where we help you set your lineup with start-sit questions. Then we have the Sunday night watch party, Monday night watch party, and all that good stuff. Tons of high-quality video production, sound production, all that good stuff for you guys. I talked about Joe Mixon and I didn't hit it. Drop all night, and I feel like an idiot, but it is what it is, guys. But appreciate you once again. And it's October 2nd already, so getting into that Halloween spirit. Can't wait. It's going to be a fun month, guys. It's going to be a fun month. Hey, appreciate you. It was a great show. It felt good. What's that? Paint that? Yeah, I did. I painted this Czarface. Yeah, that part of the MF Doom stuff. I totally did. Yeah, and Dr. Doom. I painted all of these actually, and I was able to do a commission for Drizzle that he has in the background when he does his streams, and that's of the Master Shake. So some Aqua Teen Hunger Force stuff there. I do all kinds of stuff, guys. Make sure that if you have any requests, I can put it up on the website. I can paint it. I can Photoshop it. I could create it. So be on the lookout. I am doing a new design for our guy Drippin' with Jay. So hopefully, I actually sent him some stuff. Maybe he was super busy, didn't see it. So maybe I can get some feedback on that. And we have some more drops and some more videos and a lot more other things coming on really soon. So be on the lookout. I'm going to have the allegedly graphic up on the website for the GWN network and some other ones that are cooking. I have a list of stickies. I just haven't had time, but tomorrow should be the day or when we're watching football. So be on the lookout for that stuff. And I'll let you know when the sales drop. That being said, guys, remember when I stopped talking. Appreciate you. We will see you next week. Hopefully the vibes will be 4-1 and we'll be talking about how well these guys played. But if not, then you saw my mood last week when prepping for this game. It's just going to be on to the next one. We'll try to scrap it, learn from it, and get better, right? So all I do want to see is improvement in the offensive line as far as penalties and just being more disciplined. I do want to see the offensive playbook open up a little bit more, get a little more creative, less gadgety, less predictable for Bobby Slowick. And CJ and Nico, just keep doing what you're doing. Defense, keep learning and communicating. And hopefully the offense doesn't put you in bad positions and they get started, early and they put their foot down on the Bills and they show that they can play, big boy type football because they kind of failed that test versus the Vikings. They've kind of played down to their opponents in the first couple of weeks. This game has huge implications as far as AFC divisional standings. You don't want to go play Buffalo late in the year as a wild card or on the road for a divisional or whatever when in the cold, right? CJ Stroud, like I mentioned, is not good on the road outside versus top, teams defensive wise, right? So I think that having the home field advantage, winning this game right now, showing people that you can beat a good teams, that's what it's about. So I need them to come out here, play good, clean football, be well prepared. And a lot of that is on the coaching, I think, too. But a lot of these guys need to, on the offensive line, need to get their head out of their asses. And some of these other guys need to just kind of believe in themselves and limit the mistakes. So I think if they can play good, clean, mistake-free football, they have a really decent chance of winning this football game. I was less optimistic heading into the Sunday night game when they barely beat the Jaguars. But then I saw the Bills, completely blow it versus the Ravens get banged up and beat up and bruised all over the field and then have to travel again on a short week with all these injuries and game plan versus the Texans with another road game looming after this for the Bills, which I think is even going to be an even tougher matchup. So, this little stretch for the Bills isn't good. Let's see if they can, rise to the occasion. But I think that this is a huge test for the Texans for them to really show everybody that they belong and show themselves that, that they are a team that is meant to make a deep run in the playoffs. And we're just not one of those, 10-win, we run the AFC South and then we're going to bow out in the second round of the, of the dance. So aspirations are high, expectations are high. So let's just see if they can, do what they do. Yes, sir. Hey, yeah, definitely. We'll get together, man. Yeah, don't worry about it, man. The shipping will probably be the most important thing you got to take care of, brother. So don't worry about that. I'll hook you up. But yeah, the Vikings defense is legit. So that's true. But I'm just talking about the way they played against the Colts, kind of like on defense, right? And the offense played well, and then kind of playing down to the Bears, even though I think the Bears have a decent defense as well. But they just haven't showed me that pure domination, the five-headed monster and everybody clicking all at once. It just hasn't happened yet, right? So I also need Tank to wake up. But hopefully this is the week, man. I can feel it. He's too talented to not get the football and for them not to scheme the football in space. So I'm hoping that Bobby Slow kind of wakes up or gets things going. Like I said, he's been one of the worst play callers in the league this season. So if he can turn things around, the offense can get clicking and going, then we'll all get to enjoy this a little bit more than just the Nico Collins and CJ Stroud and Stefon Diggs connection. We can start really playing all those ancillary pieces, right? So Tank Dell's still a buy low candidate because he's coming off the injury. If you got him, if people are interested, obviously I would still try to sell, right? But he's going to have that breakout game, and then you can go ahead and definitely do it then. I have like glitter on my eye or something. It's so weird. Got it. But what's that? It feels like CJ doesn't have enough time. Exactly. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like Tank they haven't designed plays where Tank is the first or second read. Tank always seems to be like the third read. Or when they do have those design plays, it doesn't happen but once or twice a game, or it's coming on an end around or something when the defense is already knowing. So I just think they got to get a little more creative. And like I said, move him, in and out and around a little bit, put him in the slot as well, and do things and get him. I think they tried to do that versus the Vikings, and it turned into a deflected pass, and the whole game went to shit after that. So I think that they've been trying to get it to Tank, but they need to do it organically and not forced. So we'll see. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think Tank is good. I'm proud for the third guy, but that line needs to hold. And yeah, the line has not been. I think that's the hugest, glaring hole in the Texans game, right? The line is basically Swiss cheese. They got to get better play, and I think, like I said, they after a while, when you have cohesion, you have the same guys out there, things will get better, right? But they need to practice, and Laramie Tunsil missing practice today doesn't help. So I don't know how him doing what he does or his ego is helping the team right now, but because he just continues to not take any responsibility for the penalties. It's wild. But on that note, Laramie Tunsil. But on that note, I'm looking very much forward to this game. Getting to church extremely early. I'm going to pray about it. Hopefully things come out of this. We come out, even if we don't come out with a win, hopefully things come out of this week looking good, and things, we saw the things that we wanted to see, and they had a very good competitive game as far as not getting in their own way. So if that can happen, then I'll be extremely excited whether they win or lose. Obviously, we want the win, calling for the 31-29 victory. Hopefully they can decide it a little more decisively than that, right? And I don't have to bite my fingernails and have a heart attack or super anxiety. And then they're playing these early windows and the coffee's barely, easing out. It's just crazy. But on that note, guys, I'm going to call it a night. Appreciate you once again. We ran 1:15 today and trying to keep them pretty concise. And like I said, hopefully we'll be back here with the 4-1 vibes, and we'll be talking about all the stuff next week. Appreciate everybody.
Break up the 5 villain. Here we go.
It's special. We saw that practice. We practiced something this week, man. Them boys are tired. Let's keep it up this week, man.